All right, hello out there in Sammy Land. I hope everybody's having a Sammy-rific day. We're here today with another episode of Childhood Money Memories, and we have a special guest. We're pleased to feature Patricia Roberts. Welcome, Patricia.
Thank you for having me here today. I'm
Uh,
delighted to be with you.
well, it's a real pleasure. I've read about your story, and it is awesome and impressive and all those good and great things. Let me just share a little bit about you, and then you can add to it if you like. First and foremost, Patricia is a mom. And so that's a big deal. She's also an attorney. She's the chief operating officer at Gift for College, and she's an author. I see her book in the background. Let me read the title. It's A Parent's Guide to Saving for College and Career Training with 529 plans. Those are college saving plans for everyone out there. Patricia, would you like to share anything else about your career and background and interests?
Well, I think you said a sufficient amount, but I will just say by way of background, I'm someone who grew up in a low income family, and I almost missed the opportunity to go to college because of cost. And I'm really happy to be helping other families around the United States prepare for higher education and have good outcomes in terms of pursuing their children's dreams and aspirations.
Wow, that is, for those of the people who don't know, Patricia, in my mind, is a real inspiration. She is the real deal. She's lived it. She's done it. She worked her way through college. And then she's also very accomplished professionally. So she's someone you want to connect with and tap into her thinking and experiences as it relates probably to a lot of things, but specifically about going to college and leaving college with little to no debt. Okay, Patricia, this is Childhood Money Memories, and we want to know, do you have one childhood money memory you'll share with us that really stands out for you?
Certainly. Well, one of my favorite childhood money memories involves collaboration with my three siblings, of which I was the youngest. And when there was something that my siblings and I wanted that fell outside of our family's very tight budget, my mom would encourage us to sit down and to discuss the importance of whatever it was and to see if we could agree upon pursuing it. And what she suggested to us is exactly what we pursued. We began to save together as a family for whatever that objective was. And how did we do it? My mom would place a large glass jar in a very visible location, and we would begin to our ability. Certainly we were all different ages with all different access to financial means, but we would certainly contribute as much as we could individually into this jar. And with great excitement, we would watch it grow, watch the jar fill up over time, and then we would periodically dump it onto the dining table and sit together and count the coins, and occasionally there were dollar bills in there. But with respect to the coins, we would roll them in those paper wrappers. I'm not sure if people are even still familiar with what that was, but that was a lot of fun. And we would see how close we were to achieving whatever it was. So that's a memory I have. And we pursued so many goals in that way. And it was so satisfying once we were able to purchase or pursue whatever we were saving for. And sometimes it was tickets to see one of our favorite sports teams play. Sometimes it was something we very much needed for our home. Sometimes it was something like an air hockey table that we could all play with together. But I love the idea that my mom had to sit us down to discuss it, to assess the importance of it, where we're all on the same page about it, and then together to save for whatever it was. So I would say that is one of my favorite money memories.
Wow, that is amazing. I'm thinking you might have been my imaginary sister.
Could have been, could have been.
We had a very similar process in our house. My dad was very big on saving together. We had a family savings jar, and we'd have these family meetings around the dinner table and discussions like the one your mom encouraged and led, and you guys actually had. So you really warmed my heart sharing that memory. Thank you so much. Boy, and I like this whole idea of the glass jar. That sounds almost magical, the glass jar.
It was, it certainly was. And it really kept us engaged because it was a visible reminder of what we were pursuing. And I loved the fact that we could check on it periodically. We could contribute to it as much as we could, either from our allowance or from other means that we had of coming across money. And it felt very collaborative.
You know, let me ask you, do you still save change?
I do still save change. And let me tell you how I save change. This is a bank that I keep near the entrance of our home in the foyer area. And oftentimes we have change in our pockets that somehow transpires, and we put it in here when we come into our home and we fill this up. And when this gets filled, we cash in these coins. This is a replica of the Big Ben clock in London, and my son's name happens to be Ben. So I think that's how we stumbled upon this, but absolutely positively, we save change, we cash it in, and we then put it in savings accounts for different purposes. Absolutely.
Oh, you know, since you have that bank with you, this is what I like to share with kids, and I'm going to share with you. And I hope you will do this right now. Patricia, shake that bank. The sound, oh, okay. Earlier it was making the noise, what we like to call the sound of saving.
That's right. That is the sound of savings. I'm going to do that from time to time. Great idea.
We're working on a song titled Shake That Bank. Music is
I
a big
love it.
part of, oh, thank you. Yeah, music's a big part of how we like to engage children around money topics. I love that you shared your mom was really working those techniques to get you guys engaged in the process. You know, I read something about you that you're a lifelong learner, and you shared something to the effect that one of the reasons why you love learning is all the doors that it can open for you. Maybe you can share a thought regarding that sentiment.
Sure, absolutely. Well, growing up in a family without means really meant that I had to think of a variety of ways to earn money for the future and to help my family. And pursuing higher education was one of the best investments in myself that I ever made. And I will say, as a result of pursuing and achieving higher education, both an undergraduate degree and a graduate degree that I pursued at night while working full-time, those degrees led me to career opportunities that I would have never had I not achieved those forms of education. And as a result, I eventually was able to purchase a home for my mom and for one of my siblings who has a developmental disability. I was able to buy them a home as a result of my lifting myself up out of that tough financial situation, pursuing the education, and then starting careers that enabled me to earn money and then come back empowered to help my family in such a significant way. And that is really one of the proudest things I can talk about, because we always, think about ways we can help others, and helping our family was one of the most important goals I ever had, and something I thought of ever since I was a child. And my mom taught us to have faith. We had a very strong faith as a family. Hers was unshakable as a single mom leading this family through some tough times. But she also taught us to combine that faith with action, and pursuing education and working hard at it, and then working hard at those early jobs and the ones that evolved over time really represented the action that really nicely complemented faith. And it really has made me so very happy and helped lift my family up to a level of living that they may not have been able to achieve had I not been able to assist.
Wow, kudos to you, kudos to your mom. That is just Sammy-rific. Let me now share something I think you'll also are very proud of, and this is related to your book. I'm sure you're of this, that your son wrote the foreword to the book. Here's something he wrote that stood out to me, and maybe you could share a thought on this. He said, I learned, and I guess this is from you, how cutting back on things we really didn't need could help us and make a big difference. Spending less helped us save more.
That is true. And he did learn that. We often stopped and thought for a moment before we spent money on things that didn't seem absolutely essential. And while sometimes we went ahead and splurged on things that maybe weren't necessary, but really seemed to be something that we would enjoy together as a family, we all also thought hard about ways where we could refrain from doing so, and ways where we could even reconsider the fixed expenses we had as a family. And when Ben was in middle school, I think we sat down and looked at our family's budget. We looked at things that we were spending money on consistently, and we put our heads together to see, was there anything that we could cut back on that was not absolutely necessary? And Ben actually had the very good idea to cut back on what we were spending on cable TV, because we actually were not watching all of those channels or watching TV really very much, as he was an active middle schooler with a rigorous academic schedule, lots of homework at night. And we ended up cutting out channels and going with a different approach for TV watching, and we saved a significant amount. So I really feel that we taught our son, and we reminded ourselves that what we spend has a lot to do with what we can save. And our other example is, we've driven the same car since our son was an infant. We never traded it in or bought another car. We didn't need one. This car, knock wood, is still running 20 some years later. And we just decided we didn't need that. We didn't need something else to pay for. And he's aware of that as well, that, you know, we sort of prioritized what was important and avoided expenses that really just did not seem necessary.
Amazing. Well, your mom was definitely a Hall of Fame all-star money role model for you. It sounds like you and your husband were the same for your son. Do you have a thought or two on how important the role of parents is with respect to teaching kids about money?
I do have a thought on that. I think parents play a critical role in the education of their children on so many issues, and in particular around the issue of money. I feel children learn from what they see, and how parents conduct themselves with respect to financial matters really affects children in the long run. So I think parents have a great opportunity to show their children fiscal responsibility. I think they also have the ability to really walk the talk, because it's more about what you do as a parent than what you say that children will learn from. So I think the seeds for financial wellness are planted at home. Certainly, there's always room for improvement. There's always additional things that can be learned outside the home. But I think that financial education starts there. And I think parents really play an important role.
Critical. Let me ask you this. Is there maybe one big challenge as a parent you've had to face with respect to talking to Ben, you know, about money? I was talking with Cameron Huddleston, the personal finance columnist and author, and she shared, you know, she has 3 children, and she said, you know, we've taught them all about money and use largely the same information, but they take it in so differently. That's been a little bit of a challenge in their household.
I would say really no significant challenges, but one area where we put a lot of attention was on the selection of college. And we let our child, Ben, know from the time he was young that we were preparing for his post-secondary education. We let him know that his dad and I had a tremendous amount of student loan debt when we got out of school. And we told him how stressful it was for us to repay over $100,000 in student loan debt over 20 years. So he was aware of the challenges his dad and I had had, and he was aware of our desire to do better for him and for us to help him have a less financially stressful academic experience. And with that in mind, we acquainted him with the fact that we were saving. He knew, certainly as he approached high school and began the college application process, how much money we had. And he also knew that depending on the type of school that he selected and the net cost of that school, that his circumstances would wind up being quite different. So if he went to a state school where he ended up being offered an honors program that was very little in cost, he'd actually have some money left over. If he went to one of the higher price schools, some of the schools were close to $75,000 a year, and they didn't offer forms of assistance for him. He knew that there would be a gap that would need to be filled in some way, perhaps with student loans or perhaps with him working tremendously hard through the process. And he also knew if he picked a school like the one he ultimately selected, which offered him a setting that he liked, courses that he was interested in, and a merit scholarship, that combined with the savings we had would put him in a really comfortable situation. And we did have some money left over, which he's now using for graduate school. So we let him know. We didn't go into this college application process blindly. We didn't allow him to get his heart set on something we couldn't afford, but we explained what we had. We were so proud to have accumulated and what the situation would be based on the net cost of the school he selected. And I think that was really important to have those conversations. We were open to him going in any particular direction that he wanted within reason, but we wanted him to know what the situation would be financially based on his choice, so that he could be well aware of the fact that there'd be no loans, there'd be some money left over, or he'd have to be working particularly hard and perhaps borrowing, depending on the school of choice and what they did or didn't offer him in terms of financial assistance. So I think that those conversations aren't easy. I think many families put them off or don't have them. And then there's a lot of disappointment when those acceptance letters start coming in and when it's clear that the school that is most desired is not affordable. But I really encourage families to start those conversations early. You can certainly encourage your student to apply to dream schools and see what they might get offered. But I think keeping the reality of the economic situation top of mind is important to avoid, I want to say, debt and regret in the long run.
Makes sense. Boy, a lot of Sammy Rabbit gold carrot nuggets in there. All right, speaking of schools, what's your opinion with respect to should financial education be offered in schools?
Sure. I mean, I think absolutely financial education should be offered in schools. We're teaching our children so many different things, and we certainly are teaching them about ways to keep themselves safe and well in a lot of different areas, but it seems that financial matters are unfortunately often left off the table. So I think that information is critical. I think that information should also be shared with parents who may need to either refresh their memories on financial information or learn things they were never taught in their school years. So I would say yes, for certain, to financial education, and I'd open it up to families, parents in particular as well, since they really need this information themselves and perhaps could use some help in educating themselves.
Excellent point. Now, here's a question I like to ask everyone. It's a question I asked myself before I hopped into a financial education enterprise, endeavor, mission, however you want to put it. And the question is this: if you could only teach a child or perhaps even an adult one money habit, what would it be?
Hmm. I would teach children that what they can save has a lot to do with what they spend in terms of money. I think there's a disconnect between saving and spending, and I would want to teach children that the less that they spend, the more they can save. And I'd love to teach them the fact that savings can really, truly lead to brighter outcomes and peace of mind. There are unlimited possibilities that having savings can lead to. And I'd like to teach them that it really is a very valuable skill to acquire and one that can really be life-changing as it had been for me.
Excellent advice. So as we close out now, is there a final thought you want to share with the parents in our audience?
I know your job is hard as parents. I've been there. I've only had one child. I know many of you have many, but keep up the great work. Definitely do your very best to put some money aside if you can for your child's future, even if it is a small amount. And I would say when it comes to the holidays and to children's birthdays, if you have a circle of friends and family that want to give your children gifts, I would encourage them to skip the stuffed animals and the adorable outfits that are quickly outgrown or the toys and games that clutter your home in the long run, and instead consider contributing toward a savings account that can help the child in the future. I think that is a gift that everyone can feel good about. No buyer's remorse when giving something so substantial. And I think your child will appreciate that in the long run. Even if family wants to give a small gift, they can give something considerably smaller, maybe something from a dollar store or a little book, but a contribution, a financial contribution for those annual birthdays or holidays, if family and friends are inclined to give something, is really valuable. And I would encourage parents to celebrate the good job they're already doing and think of strategies like that that can help you help your child in the long run.
Excellent, excellent. All right, I know there's a lot of people out there who are going to want to contact you and pick your brain. How can people get a hold of you, Patricia?
Well, they can get a hold of me on Instagram or Facebook. I'm at Route, ROUTE 529 Mom. So at Route 529 Mom. And my book, if they're interested in seeing it, is available on Amazon.com.
Awesome. I want to thank you again, Patricia, for joining us. And for everybody out there in Sammyland, I want to wish you a Sammy-rific day. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye. Thank you.